Grace's phone lit up at 3 in the morning. She grabbed it before the buzz could wake Marcus. The message burned into her retinas: your husband has been lying to you for 8 years. Meet me at Morrison Diner tomorrow. Come alone. Her hands started shaking. She read it again. Then again. Another message came through. I know you're reading this. I'm not trying to hurt you. But you deserve to know who you're living with. Grace stood in the kitchen, still in her nursing scrubs from the night shift. Marcus was snoring in their bedroom. That same snore she'd heard for 8 years. The same man who'd kissed her 4 hours ago and told her he loved her. Her chest tightened. She couldn't get air. Mama Grace spun around. Zoe stood in the hallway clutching her stuffed elephant. 6 years old, with worry lines already forming on her forehead. Baby, what are you doing up? I heard noises. Zoe's voice was small. Are you crying? No, sweetheart. Go back to bed. You're always tired now. The words hit like a punch. Grace crossed to her daughter, knelt down. Zoe smelled like baby shampoo and something sweet and innocent that Grace wanted to bottle up and keep forever. I know. I'm sorry. Grace's voice cracked. But Mama's working hard so we can. I don't want good things. I want you to smile again. Grace's throat closed. She couldn't speak. Just held her daughter and tried not to fall apart. After tucking Zoe back in, Grace returned to the kitchen. Her finger hovered over the phone. She typed, "Who are you?" The response was instant. Someone who made the same mistake you did. Trusting him. Grace stared at Marcus's contact photo. That smile. Those eyes that used to make her feel safe. When did everything change, or had it always been like this and she was just too exhausted to notice she didn't sleep? Just lay next to Marcus, listening to him breathe. At 5 a.m. she got up for her cleaning job. Marcus didn't even stir. The bus downtown was crowded with other workers. Grace pressed her face against the cold window. Her reflection looked hollow. 42, but she could pass for 55. When did that happen? Her phone buzzed. Marcus. Morning, baby. You left early. Everything okay? Grace stared at the message. 8 years and he was still texting like nothing was wrong. Fine. Long day. 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. Love you. Grace's finger froze over the keyboard. She couldn't type it back. Instead, she sent a heart emoji and felt sick doing it. At the office building, her supervisor Patricia pulled her aside within 20 minutes. Grace, we need to talk about your performance. What about it? You've been distracted. Missing spots. Last week, the 7th floor trash, I forgot one time. It's not just that. Patricia's smile was thin as a knife. You seem tired. Like you don't want to be here. I work 16-hour days. Of course I'm tired. Maybe you should reconsider your schedule. This job requires focus. If you can't give us that. Patricia let it hang there. Grace felt something hot rise in her chest. Are you saying I'm not good at my job? I'm saying we have standards. And if you can't meet them, there are plenty of other people who would be grateful for this opportunity. That word, opportunity, like scrubbing toilets for minimum wage, was some kind of gift. I understand, Grace said. She walked away before she said something that would get her fired. Maria, one of the other cleaners, touched her arm. Don't let her get to you. She does this to everyone like us. Grace knew what that meant. She'd known since week 1 when Patricia asked if she understood English well enough, despite Grace having a nursing degree and speaking 3 languages. At the hospital for her second job, Grace moved through the halls like a ghost. Empty bedpans. Change sheets. Help patients to the bathroom. All the work nurses didn't want to do. Meanwhile, nurses with American degrees, nurses who knew less than Grace did, got to do actual medical care. The degree she'd worked 6 years for in Nigeria meant nothing here. Nothing. Around noon, Grace was helping Mrs. Chen to the bathroom when the elderly woman grabbed her hand. You look sad today. Man troubles. Grace tried to smile. What makes you say that? I'm 86. I know heartbreak when I see it. Mrs. Chen's grip was surprisingly strong. You know what I learned coming to this country in 1962, what that America doesn't love you just because you work hard. If you want to survive here, you have to fight for yourself. Nobody else will. The words settled in Grace's chest like stones. By 2 p.m. Grace was sitting in Morrison Diner. Her coffee was getting cold. She couldn't drink it, couldn't think, just watched the door and waited. Then a woman walked in. Latina, maybe 30, with a baby strapped to her chest. She scanned the room. Their eyes met. Grace knew. The woman slid into the booth without asking. Up close, her mascara was smudged. She'd been crying recently. You're Grace. Who are you, Elena? She pulled out a manila folder. Set it on the table. Marcus is my partner. The father of my children. The diner tilted. Grace gripped the edge of the table. That's impossible. I wish. Elena's voice was hollow. 6 years. We have a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old. He told me he was divorced. That his ex-wife knew about me. I believed him. We're married. We have a daughter. He sleeps in my bed every night. Not every night. Elena's voice broke. Some nights he's in mine. Grace reached for the folder. Her hands were shaking so badly papers spilled out. Photos. Marcus with Elena. Marcus with 2 kids Grace had never seen. Marcus cutting a birthday cake with his arm around Elena. Bank statements. Accounts she'd never heard of. Credit cards in her name maxed out. He's been using your identity, Elena said quietly. Credit cards. Loans. You're probably 40-50,000 in debt. The number didn't make sense. Grace had worked herself half to death trying to stay afloat. And all this time Marcus was drowning her in debt she didn't know existed. Why are you telling me this? Because I have 2 kids with a liar. Because I'm undocumented and he threatened to call ICE if I made trouble. Elena wiped her eyes. And because you deserve to know. Grace stared at the photos. One showed Marcus holding a baby. She counted backward. 3 years ago, when he'd told her he was working double shifts to pay Zoe's medical bills. He'd been building a second family. What do we do? I don't know. But maybe together. Elena stood up, adjusted the baby carrier. My number's in there. Call me when you're ready. She left. Grace sat alone with the folder. With proof her entire life was a lie. Her phone buzzed. Marcus. What do you want for dinner? I'll pick something up. Grace stared at the message. Then typed nothing. I'm not hungry. Before I tell you what happened next, before I show you how deep this betrayal went and what I had to do to survive it, I need you to do something. If this is hitting you somewhere real, if you've ever worked yourself to death for someone who was destroying you, hit subscribe. Stay with me until the end. Comment your city. I need to know how far my story travels. I need to know I'm not alone. Because what comes next, what I discovered that night, it changed everything. That evening at the hospital, Grace moved in a fog. Every patient's face blurred together. Around 8 p.m. Dr. David Chen stopped her in the hallway. Grace, you okay? You seem off. I'm fine. Just tired. You're always tired. He smiled gently. Listen, if you ever need someone to talk to, I'm here. There was something in his tone. Something that made Grace look at him differently. David was divorced, always working late like her. They'd shared coffee a few times in the break room. Nothing serious. Just 2 lonely people making small talk. Thank you, she said. I mean it. He touched her arm briefly. You deserve better than whatever's making you this sad. He walked away. Grace stood in the hallway, wondering if that touch meant something. Wondering if she even cared. Wondering if everything was about to collapse. When she got home after midnight, the apartment was dark. She stood in the living room, still holding her purse, still in her scrubs. She could confront Marcus. But then what if he admitted it? Everything ended. If he denied it, she'd know he'd lie to her face. Either way, it broke. She could leave. But where? She had no money. Her immigration status was tied to Marcus. Leaving could mean deportation. She could pretend. Keep working. Keep surviving. Keep living the lie. But the thought of him touching her, kissing her, sleeping next to her, knowing what she knew now, it made her want to throw up. Grace walked to the bathroom. Turned on the shower. Sat on the floor fully clothed while water ran. She didn't cry. Couldn't cry. Was too far past tears. She thought about Lagos. About her mother who died believing Grace was living the American dream. About her sister who bled out in childbirth because there was no hospital close enough. About all the reasons she'd left everything behind. For what? To scrub toilets, to change bedpans, to work 16 hours a day while her husband built a secret life. Mrs. Chen's words came back, you have to fight for yourself. Grace turned off the shower. Stood up. Looked in the mirror. And made a decision. She wouldn't run. Wouldn't pretend. Wouldn't cry. She would fight. But first she needed to know everything. See the full picture. Because Elena had shown her the tip. Grace suspected there was so much more underneath. She crept to the bedroom. Marcus was snoring. His phone sat on the nightstand plugged in screen dark. Grace had never gone through his phone before. Had trusted him completely. Her hands shook as she picked it up. Punched in his passcode Zoe's birthday. The phone unlocked. Grace opened his messages. Found the thread with her. Normal. Boring. Love you texts that now felt like poison. She scrolled down. Found a thread labeled E with a heart emoji. The messages went back years. Hundreds. Thousands. Miss you already. Can't wait tonight. The kids are asking for daddy. Photos of Elena in bed wearing his shirt. Photos of the children captioned our beautiful family. Grace scrolled and scrolled. Every message was proof. Every photo was evidence. He'd built an entire life with Elena while sleeping next to Grace every night. But there was more. Other numbers. Other women. Not relationships. Transactions. Send the money and I'll process the papers. My guy can get you documentation by next week. Don't worry, completely safe. Marcus wasn't just a cheater. He was running an immigration fraud operation. Then Grace found her own name. A thread between Marcus and someone called T. She doesn't check her credit, she's too busy working. Lol, already got 3 cards in her name. This is too easy. They'd laughed about it. About using her. About Grace being too trusting, too desperate, too blind to see what was right in front of her face. Grace set the phone down. Her whole body shook. Rage and grief mixing into something dark and dangerous. She looked at Marcus sleeping, his face peaceful, and wanted to scream. Wanted to hit him. Wanted to make him hurt the way she hurt. But she didn't. Instead, she took photos of everything with her own phone. Every message. Every transaction. Every piece of evidence. She worked quietly, methodically, hands steady, even as her heart shattered. When she finished, she put his phone back exactly where it was. Then she lay down next to him, staring at the ceiling. Planning. Because Mrs. Chen was right. America didn't care about her sacrifice. Marcus didn't care about her pain. The system didn't care about her struggle. But Grace was done caring what they thought. She was going to burn it all down. At 6 a.m. Grace got up. Made coffee. Woke Zoe for school. Marcus stumbled into the kitchen, rubbing his eyes. Morning, baby. He kissed her cheek. Grace's skin crawled. But she smiled. Morning. You okay? You seemed restless last night. Just a lot on my mind. Marcus poured coffee. Work stuff, yeah. Work stuff. He nodded, already looking at his phone. Already distracted. Already somewhere else. Grace watched him. Really watched him. Saw a stranger wearing her husband's face. Marcus, she said. Do you love me? He looked up, surprised. Of course. Why would you ask that? Just wondering. He smiled. Kissed her forehead. You're my whole world. You and Zoe. The lie came so easily. So smoothly. Like he'd practiced it 1,000 times. Good, Grace said. That's good. After Marcus left for work, Grace sat at the kitchen table. Opened the folder Elena had given her. Looked at her own phone full of screenshots. Then she pulled out a notebook and started writing. Names. Dates. Amounts. Everything Marcus had done. Everything he'd stolen. Everyone he'd hurt. She was building a case. Not for the police. Not yet. First she needed to protect herself. Protect Zoe. Make sure that when this exploded, and it would explode, she wouldn't be the one who got destroyed. Her phone rang. Unknown number. Grace hesitated, then answered. Hello, Grace, it's Elena. I've been thinking about what we talked about. About stopping him together. Grace looked at the notebook in front of her. At the photos. At the evidence. I'm listening. I know a lawyer. Someone who helps women like us. If we both testify, if we both show what he's done, he could go to jail. Yes. Grace thought about Zoe. About her daughter growing up with this man as her example of what love looked like. About all the other women Marcus would hurt if they did nothing. Okay, Grace said. Let's do it. Really, really. But we need to be smart. We need to protect ourselves first. Can you meet me tomorrow? Yes. Where? Not the diner. Too public. There's a library on 42 ND Street. 3rd floor. 2 p.m. I'll be there. Grace hung up. Looked at the notebook again. At everything she was about to do. Her hands weren't shaking anymore. Her chest wasn't tight. For the first time in 8 years she could breathe. Because she'd made a choice. Not to be a victim. Not to be used. Not to quietly suffer while Marcus destroyed her. She was going to fight. And she was going to win. Even if it meant losing everything else. The library on 42 ND Street smelled like old paper in desperation. Grace arrived 15 minutes early, took a corner table on the 3rd floor where nobody would notice two women who looked like they'd been crying. Elena showed up at exactly 2 p.m. baby carrier empty this time. Her eyes were red and swollen. They didn't shake hands. Didn't hug. Just sat across from each other like two soldiers preparing for war. I told him I was going to the doctor, Elena said. Her voice was flat. Empty. Left the kids with his mother. She thinks I'm the perfect girlfriend. That Marcus is finally settling down. Grace pulled out her notebook. Does she know about me number? Nobody does. He's kept us completely separate. Elena's hands trembled as she reached into her purse. I brought everything I have. Bank records. Text messages. Photos. Even the fake documents he made for people. Fake documents, the immigration fraud. I didn't know what it was at first. Thought he was just helping friends. Elena spread papers across the table. Then I realized he was charging them. Thousands of dollars. Promising green cards, work permits, all of it fake. Grace's stomach turned. She picked up one of the documents. It looked real. Official stamps. Government logos. But it was all counterfeit. How many people? I don't know. Dozens maybe. He keeps everything on a separate laptop. I only found it because I went through his car last week. Where's the laptop now? Still in his car. Under the driver's seat in a black bag. Grace wrote that down. Her hand was steady now. Controlled. She'd spent the last 24 hours moving past shock into something colder. Something that felt like clarity. I ran his credit, Grace said. He's got 17 credit cards. 11 in my name that I never applied for. 6 in yours. Total debt is over $63,000. Elena's face went white. 63,000, that's just what I could find. There's probably more. I can't pay that. I work at a nail salon. I barely make rent. Neither can I. But that's not the point. Grace leaned forward. The point is we have proof. Proof he's been committing fraud. Identity theft. Financial abuse. If we bring this to the right people, he'll get deported. Elena's voice cracked. My kids will lose their father. Your kids will lose a criminal. He's still their father. Grace wanted to scream. Wanted to grab Elena and shake her and make her understand that Marcus wasn't worth protecting. But she didn't. Because she remembered lying in bed last night staring at him sleeping and feeling that same sick pull of love mixed with hate. My daughter draws pictures of him, Grace said quietly. She writes "See love daddy" on every single one. She has no idea who he really is. And I don't know how to tell her. I don't know how to break her heart like that. Elena wiped her eyes. My son asked me yesterday why daddy doesn't live with us all the time. I told him daddy works a lot. Works to take care of us. Now I know he was just with you. They sat in silence. Two women drowning in the same lie. Finally Grace spoke. Did he ever hit you number? But he grabbed me once. When I asked about money he owed me. Grabbed my arm hard enough to bruise. Elena pulled up her sleeve. The bruise was yellow now, fading but still visible. He said I was being dramatic. That I should trust him more. Grace thought about the night Marcus had shaken her. How Zoe had screamed from the doorway. How something inside Grace had snapped and she'd hit him back. He's escalating, Grace said. What the violence? It starts small. A grab. A shove. Then it gets worse. My mother used to say that about my father before we left him. Grace's voice was barely above a whisper. I swore I'd never end up like her. But here I am. Elena reached across the table. Touched Grace's hand. We're not our mothers. We're not staying. No. We're not. Grace pulled out her phone. Showed Elena the screenshots she'd taken from Marcus's phone. Elena's face cycled through emotions: shock, anger, disgust, grief. There are other women, Elena whispered. At least 4 that I can find. I don't think he's seeing them. Just using them for the fraud scheme. Taking their information. Using their identities. We need to call the police. Not yet. Grace's voice was sharp. If we call the police now they'll investigate. They'll look at our immigration status, at our finances, at everything. We need to protect ourselves first. How I know an immigration lawyer. Friend of a friend at the hospital. She does pro bono work for women in situations like ours. Grace wrote down a name and number. Her name is Sarah Okonkwo. Nigerian woman. She understands. Call her. Tell her everything. Get legal protection before we do anything else. Elena took the paper. What about you? I'm calling her too. And I'm documenting everything. Every time Marcus comes home. Every time he lies. Every cent he spends. I'm building a case so airtight he can't talk his way out of it. When do we tell him? We know we don't. Not until we're ready. Not until we're safe. Grace started gathering the papers. Right now he thinks we're both under his control. Let him keep thinking that. It gives us time. Elena nodded. Then her face changed. Grace. What if he finds out we met? He won't. But what if then we deal with it? Together. The word hung between them. Together. Two women who should have been enemies united by betrayal. Grace's phone buzzed. Marcus. Working late tonight. Don't wait up. Elena's phone buzzed at the same moment. She looked at it. Her face went hard. He just texted me. Says he's coming over. That he misses me. They looked at each other. Both phones on the table. Both messages from the same man. At the same time. He's unbelievable, Elena breathed. No. He's predictable. And that's how we're going to destroy him. Grace stood up. Next week. Same place. Same time. Bring anything else you find. And call that lawyer. Don't wait. Grace. Elena's voice stopped her. Thank you. For not hating me. I did hate you. For about 5 minutes. Grace's smile was bitter. Then I realized you're just another woman he used. Just like me. Walking out of the library, Grace felt something shift inside her chest. Not peace. Not forgiveness. But purpose. She had a plan now. A direction. And most importantly, she wasn't alone anymore. Her phone rang. Unknown number. Grace almost didn't answer. Then did. Hello Grace, this is Brenda from the hospital. Listen, I need to talk to you about something. Can you come in 30 minutes early tonight? Grace's heart sank. Is something wrong? Just come early. We need to talk. The line went dead. Grace stood on the sidewalk, people rushing past her, and felt that familiar panic rising. She'd been so focused on Marcus she'd forgotten to be careful at work. Forgotten that she was always one mistake away from losing everything. At the hospital, Brenda's office door was closed. Grace knocked. A muffled "come in" answered. Inside, Brenda sat behind her desk looking uncomfortable. Next to her was Linda, the HR director. A white woman in her 50s with a smile that never reached her eyes. Grace, sit down, Linda said. Grace sat. Her hands gripped the armrests. We've received some complaints, Linda continued. About your attitude. Your performance. Multiple staff members have expressed concern. Concern about what? That you're not a team player. That you're difficult to work with. That you've been making other staff uncomfortable. Grace's vision narrowed. Who said that we can't disclose that? But these are serious allegations. Allegations of what I do my job. I do it well. I've never been written up. Never been late. What exactly am I being accused of? Linda shifted in her seat. It's not about accusations. It's about culture fit. About whether you're the right match for our team dynamic. Culture fit. Grace had heard that phrase before. It was code. Code for you don't look like us and you make us uncomfortable and we want you gone, but we can't say why. Is this because I reported Patricia at the cleaning company? Grace's voice was steady. Dangerous. Because I filed a complaint about discrimination. We're not affiliated with your other employer. But you know about it. Linda didn't answer. Didn't have to. The answer was written all over her face. Brenda finally spoke. Grace, nobody's firing you. We're just putting you on notice. We need to see improvement. Improvement in what? Your attitude. Grace wanted to laugh. Wanted to scream. Wanted to ask what attitude meant when you were working 2 jobs on 4 hours of sleep while your husband destroyed your life. But she didn't. Because she needed this job. Needed the money. Needed the insurance that covered Zoe's asthma medication. I understand, Grace said. I'll do better. Good. Linda stood up. We'll check in again in 2 weeks. If things haven't improved, we'll need to discuss other options. Grace walked out of the office. Her legs felt like water. In the bathroom, she locked herself in a stall and pressed her forehead against the cold metal door. She wanted to cry, wanted to break something, wanted to disappear. Instead, she took out her phone. Typed a message to Elena. "They're coming for me at work. Document everything at your job too. We can't give them any ammunition." Elena's response came fast. "What happened later? Just be careful." Grace splashed water on her face. Looked at herself in the mirror. Her eyes were bloodshot. Her skin looked gray. She barely recognized herself anymore. When she came out, Dr. David Chen was waiting in the hallway. "Grace, I heard you got called into Brenda's office. You okay?" "I'm fine." "You don't look fine." "Well, I am." Her voice came out sharper than she meant. "Sorry. I'm just tired." David glanced around, then lowered his voice. "Listen, I don't know what's going on with you. But if you need help, real help, I can make some calls. I have friends friends who owe me favors." "Why would you do that?" "Because you're a good person who works harder than anyone here. And because I've seen how they treat people like you. People who don't fit their narrow definition of acceptable." Grace studied his face. He seemed sincere. But she'd thought Marcus was sincere too. She'd thought her marriage was real. She'd thought she knew the difference between genuine and fake. Now she didn't trust anything. "Thank you," she said. "I appreciate the offer. But I can handle it." "Can you?" The question hung there. Grace didn't answer. Just walked away to start her shift. The night crawled by. Every patient demand felt heavier. Every request felt impossible. Around midnight, Grace was helping a patient to the bathroom when her phone buzzed. Multiple times. Urgent. She checked it as soon as she could. Messages from Zoe's school. From the neighbor who watched her after school. From Marcus. "School, Zoe had an incident today. Please call us first thing in the morning." Neighbor Grace, "Zoe won't stop crying. Says she had a bad dream about her daddy. Should I call someone?" Marcus, "Where are you? Why isn't Zoe answering her phone? What kind of mother are you?" Grace's hands started shaking again. She called the neighbor. "Mrs. Rodriguez, it's Grace. What happened?" "Oh honey, she's okay now. Finally fell asleep about an hour ago. But she was so upset. Kept saying she dreamed her daddy was leaving. That he was walking away and wouldn't come back." Grace's throat tightened. "Did Marcus come by number?" "Why was he supposed to number?" "No, I just. Thank you for staying with her. I'll be home as soon as I can." "Grace, is everything all right with you and Marcus?" "Everything's fine. Just work stress." Another lie. Grace was drowning in lies. Drowning in the gap between what people saw and what was really happening. When her shift ended at 2 a.m., Grace drove home in a fog. Marcus's car was in the parking lot. He was home. Waiting. She'd have to face him. Pretend. Smile. Lie. She sat in her car for 10 minutes gathering strength. Then went inside. Marcus was on the couch watching TV. He didn't look up when she came in. "You're late," he said. "I'm always late. I work until 2. Zoe had a bad day. School called." "I know. I'll handle it." "You'll handle it." Marcus finally looked at her. "You're never here. You're always working. She's falling apart and you don't even notice." The accusation hit like a slap. Grace felt rage bubble up hot and fast. "I'm working because we need money. Because our bills don't pay themselves. Maybe if you managed money better." "Don't." Grace's voice was ice. "Don't you dare blame me for money problems when you're the one." She stopped. Almost said too much. Almost revealed that she knew. Marcus's eyes narrowed. "When I'm the one, what?" "Nothing. I'm tired. I'm going to bed." She walked past him to check on Zoe. Her daughter was asleep, clutching her stuffed elephant, tear tracks still visible on her cheeks. Grace kissed her forehead. Whispered, "I'm sorry, baby. Mama's trying to fix everything. I promise." In the bathroom, Grace opened her phone. Found a voicemail from a number she didn't recognize. She pressed play. "Ms. Grace, this is Principal Howard from Zoe's school. We need to discuss some concerning behavior. Zoe's been acting out. Today she pushed another child and used some very inappropriate language. When we asked her about it, she said things at home were bad, and that her daddy was mean to mommy. We're mandated reporters, Ms. Grace. If there's something going on, we need to know. Please call me first thing Monday morning." Grace's heart stopped. CPS. They were going to call CPS. They were going to investigate. They were going to take Zoe. She couldn't breathe. The bathroom walls closed in. She gripped the sink and tried not to pass out. A knock on the door. Grace, you okay in there? Marcus's voice. Concerned. Caring. Completely fake. Fine. Just washing up. Okay. Well, come to bed soon. We should talk about Zoe. Figure out what's going on with her. Grace looked at herself in the mirror. At this woman who'd lost everything. Who'd worked herself half to death for a lie. Who was about to lose her daughter because she'd been too blind to see the truth. No more. She opened the door. Marcus was standing there in his boxers and t-shirt, looking tired and human and normal. Looking like the man she'd married instead of the monster he'd become. Marcus, she said. Her voice was calm. Empty. Do you love me? What? Of course I do. Why do you keep asking that? I just need to know. After everything we've been through. After 8 years. Do you actually love me? He looked confused. Maybe even hurt. Grace, you're my wife. The mother of my child. You're everything to me. The lie was so smooth. So perfect. He almost looked like he believed it himself. Okay, Grace said. Okay. I just needed to hear it. She walked past him to the bedroom. Lay down. Stared at the ceiling while he got in next to her. Felt him reach for her hand in the dark. We're going to be okay, Marcus whispered. I promise. I know things are hard right now. But we're going to make it. You and me and Zoe. We're a family. Grace didn't answer. Just lay there holding his hand and planning exactly how she was going to destroy him. Because he'd just made a mistake. A big one. He'd mentioned family. Mentioned promises. Mentioned things being hard. Which meant he knew something was wrong. Which meant he was getting nervous. Which meant he'd slip up again soon. And when he did, Grace would be ready. Monday morning came too fast. Grace had barely slept. She got up at 5, made coffee, got Zoe ready for school. Her daughter was quiet. Too quiet. Baby, are you okay? Zoe didn't look at her. Just stared at her cereal. Zoe. Talk to mama. I don't want to go to school. Why not? Because I was bad. I pushed Emma. Grace knelt down next to her daughter's chair. Why did you push her? She said you and daddy were getting divorced. She said her mom told her that. She said I was going to be one of those kids with a broken family. Zoe's voice cracked. Are you getting divorced? Grace's chest tightened. Sweetheart, where did this come from? I heard you and daddy fighting. You're always sad. Daddy's never home. And when he is home, you don't look at each other anymore. 6 years old and already she'd noticed everything. Grace pulled Zoe into her arms. Listen to me. Whatever happens, you're going to be okay. Mama loves you more than anything in this world. Do you understand? But what about daddy? Grace couldn't answer. Couldn't lie. Couldn't tell her daughter the truth that would shatter her world. Daddy loves you too, she finally said. It was the only true thing left. At Principal Howard's office, Grace sat across from a woman who looked at her with barely concealed judgment. Ms. Grace, Zoe's behavior has become concerning. The pushing incident is just one example. She's been withdrawn. Angry. Using language that 6-year-olds shouldn't know. What language? She called another student a liar. Said her daddy wasn't a liar. Got very upset when the teacher tried to calm her down. Started screaming that everyone lies and nobody tells the truth. Grace's stomach dropped. I'll talk to her. That's not enough. We need to understand what's happening at home. Is there violence, substance abuse, anything we should know about? Number. Nothing like that. Then why is your daughter acting out? I don't know. Kids go through phases. Principal Howard's expression hardened. Ms. Grace, I've been doing this for 20 years. This isn't a phase. This is a child in distress. And as a mandated reporter, if I believe she's in an unsafe environment, I have to make a call. There it was. The threat. Grace's hands clenched in her lap. My daughter is safe. I work hard to provide for her. She's fed, clothed, loved. If she's acting out, it's probably because I'm working too much. I'll cut back my hours. Can you afford to do that? I'll figure it out. Principal Howard studied her. I'm going to give you 2 weeks. But if things don't improve, I will have to involve child services. Do you understand? Grace nodded. Couldn't speak. Just nodded and walked out before she broke down. In her car, she called Elena. They're threatening to call CPS on me. What? Why? Zoe's acting out. School thinks something's wrong at home. Which there is, but I can't tell them that. Grace's voice broke. If they investigate, they'll find everything. The debt. The fraud. My immigration status. They'll take her. They can't do that. They can. They will. Grace wiped her eyes. Elena, we need to move faster. We need to do this now before everything falls apart. I called the lawyer. Sarah. She wants to meet with both of us. Tomorrow at 4. I can't. I have work. Grace, this is more important than work. Nothing is more important than work. If I lose my job, I lose everything. You're going to lose everything anyway if we don't stop him. The truth of it hit hard. Grace took a breath. Okay. Tomorrow at 4. Where her office? I'll text you the address. Grace hung up, sat in her car outside Zoe's school and tried to figure out how her life had become this. When had the American dream turned into an American nightmare? Her phone rang. The hospital. Brenda. Grace, can you come in for your shift early today? How early? Noon. We're short-staffed and Linda wants to see how you handle pressure. So this was it. They were setting her up to fail. Giving her impossible tasks so they could justify firing her. I'll be there. Grace drove home. Marcus was already gone for work. She had 3 hours before her shift. 3 hours to hold herself together. She opened her laptop. Logged into the credit monitoring site she'd set up. Her score had dropped again. 2 new accounts opened in her name just last week. More debt. More fraud. More proof. Grace took screenshots. Added them to the folder she'd been building. Then she did something she'd been avoiding. She called her friend Amara. Amara picked up on the first ring. Grace, girl, where have you been? I've been trying to reach you for days. I know. I'm sorry. Things have been crazy. Crazy how talk to me. And Grace did. Everything spilled out. The messages. Elena. The double life. The debt. The fraud. CPS. All of it. She talked for 20 minutes straight while Amara stayed silent on the other end. Finally Amara spoke. Oh Grace. Oh honey. Why didn't you tell me sooner? I was ashamed. Ashamed you didn't do anything wrong. I married him. I trusted him. I was too stupid to see. Stop. Stop right there. Amara's voice was fierce. You are not stupid. You are not weak. You are a woman who believed her husband when he said he loved her. There's no shame in that. Grace started crying. Really crying. The kind of crying that hurt her chest and made her gasp for air. What do I do? She whispered. First you breathe. Second you fight. Third you let me help you. How can you help? My cousin works for an immigration advocacy group. They deal with cases like yours all the time. Women trapped by abusive partners who control their status. Let me call her. Amara, I can't ask you to. You're not asking. I'm offering. That's what friends do. After they hung up, Grace felt something she hadn't felt in weeks. Hope. Small and fragile, but there. At the hospital, Linda was waiting. Grace, we're putting you on the dementia ward today. Mrs. Patterson in 304 has been difficult. Previous CNAs have had trouble with her. Let's see how you manage. Grace knew what this was. The dementia ward was the hardest assignment. Patients who were confused, aggressive, unpredictable. It required patience Grace didn't have right now. But she had no choice. She walked to room 304. Mrs. Patterson was an 80-year-old white woman who looked tiny in her hospital bed. When Grace entered, the woman's eyes went wide. Get out of my room, Mrs. Patterson. I'm Grace. I'm here to help you. I don't want help from you people. Where's my regular nurse, you people? Grace had heard that phrase 1,000 times. Knew exactly what it meant. Your regular nurse is off today. I'm going to take care of you. No, I want a real nurse, a white nurse. Grace took a breath. Counted to 10. Mrs. Patterson, I am a real nurse. Now let me check your vitals. The woman started screaming, thrashing. Grace tried to calm her, but Mrs. Patterson grabbed her arm and dug her nails in deep enough to draw blood. Get your hands off me. Grace pulled back. Her arm was bleeding. 3 long scratches running from wrist to elbow. Linda appeared in the doorway. Is there a problem? She won't let me help her. Maybe you're not approaching her correctly. She's being combative. Or maybe she's scared. Maybe you're not making her feel safe. Linda's tone was pointed. Sharp. Grace understood. This was a test she couldn't win. If she pushed too hard, she'd be accused of aggression. If she didn't push hard enough, she'd be accused of incompetence. I'll try again, Grace said. She spent the next hour with Mrs. Patterson, talking softly, moving slowly. Eventually the woman calmed down enough for Grace to take her vitals. But the whole time Linda watched from the hallway, making notes, building a case. During her break Grace went to the bathroom to clean her scratches. They burned. She should report the injury. File an incident report. But she knew how that would look. Knew Linda would twist it into proof Grace couldn't handle the job. Her phone buzzed. Marcus, can you pick up Zoe from school today? I have to work late. Grace wanted to throw her phone against the wall. Wanted to text back, which family are you working late for, but she didn't. Fine. 3 dots appeared. Then you've been acting weird lately. Grace's heart stopped. She typed carefully. Just stressed about work. Is everything okay with your job? Why, I don't know. You just seem different. Distant. Grace stared at the phone. Was he fishing? Did he suspect, or was this genuine concern? I'm fine. Just tired. Okay. Love you. She didn't respond. Just put her phone away and went back to work. At 3 p.m. Grace was helping another patient when Dr. David Chen stopped her in the hallway. Grace, your arm. What happened? Patient got aggressive. Did you file a report? Not yet. You need to. That's policy. I know. David looked at her closely. Can we talk just for a minute? They stepped into an empty room. David closed the door. I know what Linda's doing. I've seen her do it to other CNAs. Other women who don't fit her idea of what staff should look like. I can handle it. You shouldn't have to. David moved closer. Too close. Grace, I meant what I said before. If you need help, I can provide it. I have connections. I have resources. What kind of resources? Money. Lawyers. Whatever you need. Grace looked at him. Really looked. Saw the way he was standing. The way he was looking at her. The way his hand almost touched her shoulder but didn't quite. What do you want in return? David's smile was gentle. Understanding. Nothing you're not willing to give. There it was. The offer. The transaction. The price of his help. Grace felt sick. I need to get back to work. Grace, thank you for the offer. But I'll figure it out on my own. She left before he could say anything else. Before she could consider it. Because part of her, the desperate, exhausted part, had actually thought about it. Had calculated what his help would cost versus what she'd have to give. And that scared her more than anything. After her shift, Grace picked up Zoe. Her daughter was quiet the whole drive home. When they got to the apartment, Marcus's car was in the parking lot. Daddy's home, Zoe said. She didn't sound happy. Inside, Marcus was cooking dinner. Something he rarely did. He smiled when they walked in. There's my girls. How was your day? Zoe ran to her room without answering. Marcus's smile faltered. What's wrong with her? She had a hard day at school. Still, Grace, we need to do something about this. Like what? I don't know. Maybe she needs therapy. Maybe we need therapy. Grace almost laughed. You think therapy will fix this? Fix what? What are you talking about? Grace looked at him. At this man who could lie so easily. Who could stand there cooking dinner and pretending to care while his entire life was a fraud. Nothing. Never mind. She walked to Zoe's room. Her daughter was on her bed staring at the ceiling. Baby, talk to me. Why does Daddy smell like perfume? Grace froze. What, his jacket? It smells like flowers. But you don't wear flowers. You wear the blue bottle that smells like the ocean. Grace's heart was pounding. Maybe someone at work, it's always there. Every time he comes home. Sometimes it's flowers. Sometimes it's different. But it's never yours. 6 years old and she'd noticed. 6 years old and she'd been carrying this alone. Grace sat on the bed. Pulled Zoe close. Sweetheart, I need you to know something. No matter what happens, you didn't do anything wrong. You're perfect. You're wonderful. And Mama loves you so much. Is Daddy leaving? I don't know, baby. But if he does, it's not because of you. It's because grown-ups sometimes make bad choices. And sometimes those choices hurt people. But you didn't cause it. Okay. Zoe started crying. Grace held her and felt her own tears fall. They sat like that until Marcus knocked on the door. Dinner's ready. Grace wiped her eyes. We'll be there in a minute. Dinner was torture. Marcus talked about his day. About work. About nothing real. Grace and Zoe barely ate. Just pushed food around their plates. What's going on with you two? Marcus finally asked. Nothing, Grace said. It's not nothing. You're both acting like I'm invisible. Maybe we're just tired. Of what? Grace met his eyes. Of everything. After dinner, after Zoe went to bed, Marcus cornered Grace in the kitchen. What's really going on? And don't say nothing. I know you. Something's wrong. Grace's phone was in her pocket. All the evidence stored there. All the screenshots. All the proof. She could pull it out right now. Show him. Confront him. End this. But she didn't. Because she wasn't ready yet. Because Elena was right, they needed to be smart. They needed to be prepared. I'm just stressed about work, Grace said. They're threatening to fire me. What? Why? Because I don't fit in. Because I'm too tired. Because I'm not white. The truth mixed with the lie. I'm on thin ice, and one more mistake means I'm done. Marcus's face softened. He reached for her. Baby, I'm sorry. Why didn't you tell me when you're never here? I'm here now. Are you? Grace pulled away from his touch. Because it feels like you're somewhere else. Like you've been somewhere else for a long time. Grace, what are you talking about? She wanted to scream. Wanted to throw all the evidence in his face. Wanted to make him hurt the way she hurt. Instead, she said, I'm going to bed. I have another shift tomorrow. That night, Grace couldn't sleep. She lay in bed listening to Marcus breathe and thought about Elena. About Elena's kids who called Marcus daddy. About the debt. About the fraud. About everything. Around 2 a.m. her phone lit up. Message from Elena. He just left my place. Said he was going home to you. Did you know he was here? Grace typed back. He's been home since 6. Cooked dinner. Pretended everything was normal. That's impossible. He just walked out my door 5 minutes ago. Grace sat up. Looked at Marcus sleeping next to her. Except it wasn't Marcus. It was pillows. Arranged to look like a body in the dark. Her heart stopped. She jumped out of bed. Checked the bathroom. The living room. His car was gone. He'd snuck out. While she was in Zoe's room. He'd snuck out to Elena's and then come back and arranged pillows to make it look like he was sleeping. Grace's hands shook as she texted Elena back. How long was he there? About an hour. He said he needed to see me. That he missed me. We had sex. Grace ran to the bathroom. Threw up. Her whole body shaking with rage and disgust. She'd been lying next to pillows. While Marcus was with Elena. While he was living his double life right under her nose. The front door opened. Grace heard it from the bathroom. Heard Marcus's footsteps. Heard him go back to the bedroom. She stood at the sink. Washed her face. Looked at herself in the mirror. This woman who'd been played for a fool. This woman who'd worked herself to death for a lie. No more. Grace walked back to the bedroom. Marcus was in bed now. Actually in bed. Pretending to wake up. Hey, where were you? He mumbled. Bathroom. Wasn't feeling well. You okay? Number. I'm not okay. She got back in bed. Lay as far from him as possible. And started planning. Because tomorrow she was meeting with the lawyer. Tomorrow she was taking the first real step toward destroying him. And Marcus had no idea what was coming. He'd gotten comfortable. Gotten sloppy. Thought Grace was too broken to fight back. But he was wrong. And he was about to find out just how wrong. Grace showed up at Sarah Okonkwo's office at 4 p.m. sharp. Elena was already there sitting in the waiting room with her hands twisted in her lap. They didn't hug. Didn't even really acknowledge each other. Just existed in the same space, bound by the same betrayal. Sarah came out to greet them. She was younger than Grace expected, maybe late 30s, with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense handshake. Come in. Both of you. Her office was small but organized. Files stacked neatly. Photos of her family on the desk. Sarah gestured for them to sit. I've reviewed the materials Elena sent me. What we're dealing with here is extensive fraud, identity theft, potential immigration violations, and financial abuse. This is serious. Can he go to jail? Grace asked. Yes. If we can prove everything. But first we need to protect both of you. Your immigration status, your finances, your children. That's priority one. Elena spoke up. My status is complicated. I'm undocumented. If we report him, there are protections for victims of domestic abuse and fraud. You visa VAWA. We have options. But we need to move carefully. Sarah looked at Grace. You're on a marriage-based green card, yes. How long have you had it? 6 years. Good. That gives us leverage. You're close to the 10-year mark for removing conditions. If we file for VAWA protection, you can divorce him and keep your status. But we need documented evidence of abuse. He grabbed me once. Shook me. Did anyone see it, my daughter? Sarah wrote that down. What about emotional abuse, financial control, isolation, all of it? He controls all the money. Or I thought he did. Turns out he was stealing from me the whole time. The credit card fraud is key. That's identity theft. Federal crime. We can use that. Sarah turned to Elena. You said he threatened to report you to ICE, yes? When I confronted him about the other women. Do you have that in writing, text, email, number? He's careful about that stuff. Then we need to get him to say it again. On record this time. Grace leaned forward. How you bait him. Get him angry. Get him threatening. Record it. That's dangerous, Elena said. If he finds out we're working together, he won't. Not if we're smart. Sarah pulled out 2 small devices. Recording apps on your phones can be deleted. He might check. These are better. Small recorders. Keep them in your purse, your pocket. Turn them on when you're around him. Grace took one. It was tiny, about the size of a thumb drive. We need him to admit to the fraud, Sarah continued. To the double life. To the threats. Once we have that, we go to the police, to immigration authorities, to everyone. We bury him so deep he can't touch either of you. And if he runs, Grace asked. Then he abandons his own case. Makes everything easier for you. Either way you win. Grace looked at Elena. Are you ready for this? Elena's jaw set hard. I'm done being his victim. Let's destroy him. They spent the next hour planning. Sarah laid out exactly what they needed to do. What questions to ask. How to provoke responses. How to stay safe. When they left, Grace felt different. Lighter. Like she'd finally stopped drowning and found solid ground. In the parking lot, Elena grabbed her arm. Grace, wait. There's something else. What, last night when he was at my place he got a phone call. Stepped outside to take it. I heard part of it through the window. Elena's voice dropped. He was talking about moving money. About getting things ready to leave the country. Grace's blood went cold. Leave? I think he knows something's wrong. I think he's planning to run. When? I don't know. But soon. He kept saying by the end of the month, and before it all falls apart. Grace pulled out her phone. Checked the date. 3 weeks until the end of the month. 3 weeks to stop him before he disappeared. We need to move faster, Grace said. Tonight. I'm going to confront him tonight. Grace, that's too soon. We need to be ready. If he runs, we lose everything. Evidence. Arrests. All of it. I'm not letting him escape. Elena looked scared. What if he hurts you? Then you call the police. You have my address. If you don't hear from me by midnight, you call. Grace, I'm done being afraid of him. He should be afraid of me. Grace drove home with the recorder in her pocket and fire in her chest. Marcus's car was already there. She checked the time. 6 p.m. He never came home this early. Something was wrong. She walked in. Marcus was packing. Suitcase open on the bed. Clothes thrown in carelessly. What are you doing? He jumped. Spun around. Grace. You're home early. I asked you a question. What are you doing? Work trip. Last minute. I have to leave tonight. Where? Texas. Construction project. Could be a few weeks. Grace's hand moved to her pocket. Turned on the recorder. A few weeks, Marcus, you can't just leave. Zoe needs you. I need you. I don't have a choice. It's work. Then I'm coming with you. What number? You have your jobs. Zoe has school. We'll figure it out. I'm not letting you go alone for weeks. Marcus's face changed. Hardened. Grace, you're not coming. End of discussion. Why not? What's in Texas that you don't want me to see? Nothing. It's just work. Is it, or is it another family, another life? The words hung there. Marcus stopped packing. Looked at her with eyes that were suddenly cold. Calculating. What did you say? Grace's heart was pounding, but she kept her voice steady. You heard me. Is there another family in Texas like there's another family here? Grace, what are you talking about? Elena. The kids. The apartment. The lies. All of it. Marcus's face went white. Then red. How do you? Who told you? She did. She found me. Or I found her. Does it matter? I know everything. Marcus stepped toward her. You don't know anything. I know you have 2 kids with her. I know you've been stealing from me. I know about the credit cards in my name. The debt. The fraud. I know about the immigration scheme. I know everything, Marcus. He moved fast, grabbed her arms. His grip was tight enough to hurt. You need to shut up right now. Or what, you'll hit me? Go ahead. Add assault to your list. I'm not playing with you. His face was inches from hers. You don't understand what you're messing with. Then explain it to me. Explain how you married me, brought me here, promised me a life, and then destroyed everything while I worked myself to death for you. Marcus shoved her back. You think you worked for me? You worked for yourself. For your precious American dream. I didn't force you to take 2 jobs. That was your choice. Because you told me we needed money. We did need money. You think it's cheap running 2 households, 2 families. Do you have any idea how expensive it is to keep all this going? Grace's mind reeled. He'd just admitted it. On record. All of it. So you used me. Used my credit. My identity. My work. Everything. You were an investment. One that's not paying off anymore. Marcus went back to packing. Elena doesn't complain. Elena doesn't question me. Elena knows her place. Her place. Grace's voice was ice. You mean scared and silent because you threatened to have her deported? Marcus spun around. She told you that too, that bitch. I should have reported her years ago. Why didn't you? Because I needed her. Just like I needed you. But now. He zipped the suitcase. Now I'm done. With both of you. I'm leaving. Going somewhere you can't find me. And good luck explaining the debt to the collectors. You can't just leave. Watch me. What about Zoe? Marcus paused. For just a second something flickered in his eyes. Something almost human. She'll be fine. Kids are resilient. She's your daughter. She's your problem now. He picked up the suitcase. Don't try to find me. Don't try to follow me. If you do, I'll make sure immigration finds out about every little lie you've told. Every rule you've broken. You'll be deported so fast your head will spin. He walked toward the door. Grace stepped in front of him. Move, he said. No. Grace, I'm warning you, warn all you want. You're not leaving. Not until we settle this. Marcus dropped the suitcase. You really want to do this right now? Yes. He grabbed her by the throat. Not tight enough to choke, but tight enough to scare. You have no idea who you're dealing with. I have connections. People who can make you disappear. People who can take Zoe and you'll never see her again. Is that what you want? Grace's hand was in her pocket. On her phone. She hit the emergency button she'd set up. It sent her location and an SOS to Elena, to Amara, to 911. Let go of me, Grace said quietly. Or what? Or I'll make sure everyone knows what you are. Every person you've scammed. Every woman you've used. Every crime you've committed. I'll burn your life to the ground. Marcus laughed. With what proof? Your word against mine. Good luck with that. I have more than my word. Something in her tone made him hesitate. His grip loosened slightly. What does that mean? It means I'm not as stupid as you think. It means I've been documenting everything. Photos. Screenshots. Bank records. Messages. All of it. Marcus's face changed. You went through my phone. I did. Found some interesting things. Like the thread with T. The one where you laugh about using my credit. Or the one with your fraud contacts. Or the 100 pictures of Elena and your other kids. He let go of her throat. Stepped back. You have nothing. I have everything. And copies. So many copies. Cloud storage. Email. Even gave some to a friend. If anything happens to me, it all goes public. Marcus's jaw clenched. You're bluffing. Grace pulled out her phone. Showed him. The screenshots. The photos. Everything. His face went from red to purple. You stupid bitch. Do you have any idea what you've done? Saved myself. He lunged for the phone. Grace ducked. Ran for the bedroom door. Marcus caught her ankle. She fell hard. Her phone skittered across the floor. Give me that phone. Grace kicked. Her heel connected with his nose. She heard a crack. Blood poured out. You broke my nose. She scrambled to her feet. Grabbed the phone. Marcus was on the floor holding his face, blood streaming through his fingers. The front door burst open. Police officers poured in. NYPD hands where we can see them. Marcus looked up shocked. Blood all over his shirt. What? How? Emergency alert, one officer said. Ma'am, are you okay? Grace was shaking. Adrenaline crashing through her. Yes. He attacked me. It's all on my recorder. She pulled out the device Sarah had given her. Handed it to the officer. Another officer was helping Marcus up, reading him his rights. You have the right to remain silent. Marcus looked at Grace, really looked at her, and for the first time he looked scared. Grace, please. We can work this out. I'll go to counseling. I'll fix everything. Just tell them it was a misunderstanding. No. Please. Think about Zoe. Think about what this will do to her. I am thinking about her. That's why I'm doing this. So she doesn't grow up thinking this is what love looks like. They led Marcus away in handcuffs. He was still begging, still making promises, still lying. Grace stood in her apartment, blood on the floor, her whole body shaking, and felt nothing. No relief. No victory. Just emptiness. Her phone rang. Elena. Grace, are you okay? I got your alert. I'm fine. It's over. They arrested him. Oh my God. Grace, I'm so sorry. I should have been there. You were. You helped me get ready for this. That's enough. Grace hung up, looked around the apartment. This place that had been her home, her prison, her battlefield. Now it was just space. Empty space. A knock on the door. Amara burst in. Grace, I came as soon as I got the alert. What happened? Are you hurt? And finally Grace broke. Fell into her friend's arms and sobbed. All the fear, all the pain, all the years of holding it together. It all came out at once. I did it, she whispered. I finally did it. I know, honey. I know. You were so brave. I don't feel brave. I feel broken. Broken things can heal. That's what makes them stronger. They sat on the floor together while Grace cried. Outside neighbors were gathering, whispering, staring. Grace didn't care anymore. Let them see. Let them know. She was done hiding. Later that night, after the police finished taking statements, after Amara left, after Grace checked on Zoe, who'd slept through everything, she sat alone in the kitchen. Her phone buzzed. Sarah Okonkwo. I heard what happened. The police contacted me. Grace, you did exactly what you needed to do. The recording is clear. They're charging him with assault, domestic violence, identity theft, fraud. This is good. This is really good. It doesn't feel good. I know. But you're safe now. Zoe's safe. And he can't hurt you anymore. What happens next? He'll be arraigned tomorrow. Bail hearing. Immigration will likely detain him after because of the fraud charges. Then we build the case. We use everything we have to make sure he never sees the outside of a prison cell for a very long time. And Elena, she's protected. I've already filed paperwork for her U visa. As a victim and witness, she'll be okay. So will her kids. Grace closed her eyes. Thank you. Don't thank me. You did this. You saved yourself. After hanging up, Grace walked to Zoe's room. Her daughter was sleeping peacefully, clutching her elephant. Grace sat on the edge of the bed and watched her breathe. I'm sorry, she whispered. I'm sorry it took me so long to protect us. But I promise you from now on things are going to be different. We're going to be okay. Just me and you. We're going to be okay. Zoe stirred but didn't wake. Grace kissed her forehead and left the door cracked open. In the bathroom, Grace looked at her reflection. She had a bruise forming on her throat where Marcus had grabbed her. Scratches on her arms from Mrs. Patterson. Dark circles under her eyes from months of not sleeping. But her eyes were different now. Clearer. Stronger. Not broken anymore. The next morning, Grace called in sick to both jobs. She couldn't face them yet. Couldn't pretend to be normal. Instead, she met with Sarah again. This time with Elena. They sat in Sarah's office going over everything. The charges. The evidence. The timeline. It would take months, maybe years, to untangle all of Marcus's crimes. But they had time now. They had safety. There's something else, Sarah said. The police found Marcus's laptop. The one in his car. They're going through it now. If what you told me is accurate, there could be dozens of victims. People he scammed. People whose identities he stole. Will they press charges too? Elena asked. Most likely. Which means Marcus is looking at federal time. Not just a few years. Decades potentially. Grace should have felt satisfied. Should have felt vindicated. But mostly she just felt tired. I need to tell Zoe, she said. She's going to ask where her father is. Take your time with that, Sarah advised. There's no rush. Let the dust settle first. But that night Zoe asked, Mama, where's Daddy? He didn't say goodbye before his trip. Grace sat down next to her daughter. Baby daddy's not coming back for a while. Why not? Because he did some things that were wrong. Really wrong. And now he has to go somewhere to think about what he did. Like timeout, kind of like that. But longer. Zoe's face crumpled. Did I do something bad? Is that why he left no baby? No. This has nothing to do with you. Daddy made his own choices. Bad choices. You didn't cause any of this. But I miss him. Grace pulled Zoe close. I know. And it's okay to miss him. It's okay to be sad. But you and me, we're going to be okay. I promise. Just us, just us. Zoe was quiet for a long time. Then, Mama, are you going to smile again now? The question broke Grace's heart. Yes, baby. I'm going to try really hard to smile again. That night Grace couldn't sleep. She kept thinking about everything that had happened. Everything she'd lost. Everything she'd gained. The cost of freedom was higher than she'd imagined. But the cost of staying would have been higher still. Her phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. Grace almost didn't open it. But curiosity won. This is T. Marcus's partner in the fraud scheme. I heard he got arrested. I have information. Information that could help your case. Call me. Grace stared at the message. Another twist. Another complication. Even in jail, Marcus's crimes kept spreading. She saved the number. Tomorrow she'd give it to Sarah. Tonight she just wanted to rest. But as she lay in bed, Grace realized something. She wasn't scared anymore. Whatever came next, whatever other secrets crawled out of the darkness, she could handle it. Because she'd already survived the worst. And she was still standing. Grace called the number the next morning. T answered on the second ring. You must be Grace. How do you know my name? Marcus talked about you. Never shut up about his 2 wives. T's voice was cold. Male. I'm his business partner. Or was. Now I'm just trying to save my own skin. What information do you have? Everything. Names of every person we scammed. Bank accounts. Fake documents. Wire transfers. All of it. Marcus kept records. Thought it made him smart. Really, it just made him sloppy. Why would you give this to me? Because he's going down anyway. And I'd rather cooperate than go down with him. So here's the deal. I give you everything. You give it to your lawyer. I get immunity. That's not my decision. Then make it your lawyer's decision. You have 24 hours. After that I'm gone. Mexico. Canada. Somewhere they can't touch me. The line went dead. Grace called Sarah immediately. He wants immunity in exchange for evidence. That's a federal prosecutor's call. But if his information is solid, they might deal. Can you meet him? He didn't say where. Grace's phone buzzed. T again. An address. A warehouse in Brooklyn. Tonight at 8. Grace, don't go alone, Sarah said. This could be dangerous. I'm bringing Amara. And I'm telling the police where I'll be. Be careful. People like this, they're unpredictable. That evening Grace left Zoe with Mrs. Rodriguez. Amara picked her up in her car. You sure about this number? But I'm doing it anyway. The warehouse was exactly what Grace expected. Dark. Empty. One car parked outside. Grace and Amara walked in together. A man in his 40s stood in the shadows. You Grace? Yes. Who's she? My friend. She stays. T stepped forward. He looked ordinary. The kind of man you'd pass on the street and never remember. That's what made him dangerous. Here's what I have. He pulled out a flash drive. 3 years of records. Every transaction. Every victim. Every fake document. Everything Marcus did I documented. He didn't know I was keeping copies. Insurance policy. Why did you work with him? Money. Why else people pay good money for hope? For documents that might get them legal. We gave them that hope. Whether it worked or not wasn't our problem. Grace's stomach turned. You destroyed lives. I made money. That's capitalism. T held out the flash drive. You want this or not? Grace reached for it. T pulled it back. One condition. When they come for Marcus, when they dig into everything, my name stays out of it. I was never here. We never met. I don't exist. I can't promise that. Then I walk. Grace looked at Amara. Her friend nodded. Grace took the flash drive. Fine. But if you run, if you hurt anyone else, I'll make sure they find you. I'll hunt you down myself. T smiled. You've got more spine than Marcus said. He always called you the weak one. Guess he was wrong. Grace wanted to hit him. Wanted to make him hurt. But she just walked away. In the car, Amara was shaking. That was terrifying. I know. What if he was lying? What if the drive is empty? Grace plugged it into her phone. Files loaded. Hundreds of them. Spreadsheets. Photos. Documents. All labeled. All organized. All damning. He wasn't lying. Sarah met them at her office at 10 p.m. They went through the files together. With every document, the case against Marcus grew stronger. But so did something else. A pattern Grace hadn't seen before. These dates, Grace said. These transactions. They're all after Marcus got his green card. After our marriage was approved. Sarah looked closer. You're right. He waited until he was secure. Until you'd served your purpose. I was never his wife. I was his ticket. And when he got what he needed, he found Elena. Another ticket. Another source of income. Sarah's face was grim. Grace, I think he was planning to do this again. There are messages here about a woman in Texas. He was setting up the same scheme. Grace felt sick. How many women? At least 4 that I can see. All immigrants. All vulnerable. All perfect targets. We have to stop him. We will. With this evidence he's done. Not just for fraud. For human trafficking. For exploitation. The feds are going to bury him. 2 weeks passed. Marcus's arraignment happened. He was denied bail. Immigration detained him. The charges kept piling up. Identity theft. Wire fraud. Immigration fraud. Domestic violence. Every day brought new charges. New victims coming forward. New evidence. Grace went back to work. Both jobs. Linda at the hospital couldn't fire her now. Not with Grace's lawyer threatening discrimination lawsuits. Not with the whole staff knowing what Grace had survived. Dr. David Chen avoided her. Good. Grace didn't need his kind of help anymore. At the cleaning company, Patricia was suddenly very polite. Very careful. Grace knew it wouldn't last. But for now it was enough. 1 month after Marcus's arrest, Grace got a call from Immigration Services. Ms. Grace, we've reviewed your VAWA petition. It's been approved. You're no longer dependent on your spouse for your immigration status. You're on a path to citizenship independent of him. Grace had to sit down. I am. Yes. Your lawyer provided extensive documentation of abuse and fraud. Combined with your cooperation in the federal case, your status is secure. Grace hung up and cried. Real tears. Relief tears. Freedom tears. That night she told Zoe. Baby mama has good news. We're going to be okay. Really okay. We get to stay here. Build our life. Just us. Without daddy, without daddy. Zoe was quiet. Then is that bad? That I'm not sad about that? No, sweetheart. That's honest. And honest is good. 3 months later Elena called. The trial date is set. 6 months from now. They want both of us to testify. I'll be there. Grace, I'm scared. What if he gets out? What if he comes after us? He won't. They're holding him without bail. And even if he did, we're not alone anymore. We have lawyers. We have support. We have each other. I never thought I'd be grateful to meet you. Same. Isn't that weird? We're friends because of the worst thing that ever happened to us. Maybe that's how the best friendships start. In the fire. Grace went back to school. Started the process of getting her nursing degree recognized in the U.S. It would take time, money, effort. But she had all of that now. She'd applied for financial aid. Got accepted. Started classes part-time while still working. Zoe was doing better too. Still had nightmares sometimes. Still asked about her father. But therapy was helping. She was smiling more. Playing more. Being a kid again. One evening Grace was studying at the kitchen table when Zoe came out of her room with a drawing. Mama, look what I made. It was a picture of 2 people. Grace and Zoe. Both smiling. Both holding hands. Standing in front of a house with a big sun overhead. That's us in the future. When you're a nurse again. When we have our own house. When everything is good. Grace hung the drawing on the fridge. Right where she could see it every day. 4 months after Marcus's arrest, Grace's credit score started to recover. Sarah had filed disputes on every fraudulent account. Most were being forgiven. The debt was disappearing. Slowly. But it was happening. Grace got promoted at the hospital. Not to nurse yet. But to senior CNA. More money. Better hours. Respect. She quit the cleaning job. Told Patricia she was done. But you need the money, Patricia said. I need my sanity more. Walking out of that building felt like flying. The trial finally came. Grace sat in the courtroom wearing her best clothes. Elena was next to her. Both of them ready. Marcus was brought in wearing an orange jumpsuit. He looked smaller, older, broken. When he saw Grace, his face changed. Anger, hate, fear, all of it mixed together. The prosecution laid out the case. 3 days of testimony, 3 days of evidence, photos, documents, recordings. The recorder from the night Marcus attacked Grace played for the whole courtroom to hear. His voice, you were an investment. One that's not paying off anymore. The jury's faces said everything. When Grace testified, she looked Marcus in the eye the whole time. Did your husband ever tell you he loved you? The prosecutor asked. Yes. Every day. Right up until the day I discovered it was all lies. Did you believe him? I did. For 8 years I believed him. I worked 2 jobs. Slept 4 hours a night. Sacrificed everything. Because I believed in us. In our family. In our future. Grace's voice was steady. Strong. He used that belief. Used my trust. Used my love. And he did it deliberately. Knowingly. Without remorse. Do you still love him? Grace looked at Marcus. No. I love who I thought he was. But that person never existed. When Elena testified, she told her story. The threats. The promises. The lies. By the time she finished, several jurors were crying. Marcus's lawyer tried to paint them as vindictive ex-partners. Tried to suggest they were making it up. But the evidence was overwhelming. The recordings. The documents. The testimony from T, who'd taken a plea deal. All of it pointed to the same truth. Marcus was guilty. The verdict came back 3 hours later. Guilty on all counts. 23 federal charges. The judge set sentencing for 2 months later. Outside the courthouse, Grace and Elena stood together in the sun. We did it, Elena whispered. We did. What happens now? Now we live. Really live. Not just survive. At the sentencing hearing, Marcus got 32 years. The judge was harsh. Mr. Marcus, you exploited vulnerable women. You committed systematic fraud. You destroyed lives for profit. This court finds your actions reprehensible and deserving of the maximum sentence allowed by law. Marcus tried to speak, tried to apologize, tried to beg for mercy. The judge shut him down. You had 8 years to show mercy to your wife. You chose not to. This court will show you the same consideration you showed her. None. Grace felt nothing. No satisfaction. No revenge. Just closure. This chapter was done. 1 year after Marcus's arrest, Grace graduated from her nursing recertification program. Top of her class. She got a job at a different hospital. Better pay. Better benefits. Better everything. She moved out of the basement apartment. Found a small 2-bedroom in Queens. Nothing fancy. But it was theirs. Clean. Safe. Home. Zoe's nightmares stopped. She made friends at school. Joined soccer. Started laughing again. Really laughing. The kind that made her whole face light up. Elena got her U visa approved. Started working as a medical assistant. Her kids were thriving. She and Grace stayed close. Not just friends. Sisters. Bonded by trauma but not defined by it. One evening, Grace was cooking dinner when Zoe asked a question. Mama, do you think you'll ever get married again? I don't know, baby. Maybe someday. But right now I'm happy with just us. Me too. Zoe smiled. We're pretty good together, huh? The best. 2 years after everything fell apart, Grace became a U.S. citizen. She stood in a courtroom again. But this time she was taking an oath. Promising to uphold the Constitution. Promising to defend her new country. When the judge said, "Congratulations, you are now a citizen of the United States," Grace cried. Not sad tears. Not relief tears. Joy tears. Zoe was in the audience clapping. Elena was there too. Amara. Sarah. All the women who'd helped her survive. After the ceremony, a reporter approached Grace. We're doing a story on immigrant women who overcame abuse. Would you be willing to share your story? Grace hesitated. Then thought about all the women still trapped. Still suffering. Still thinking they had no way out. Yes. I'll share it. All of it. The article ran a month later. Grace's face on the front page. Her story in detail. The abuse. The fraud. The fight. The survival. Her phone didn't stop ringing for days. Women calling. Sharing their own stories. Asking for help. Asking for hope. Grace started a support group. Met with women twice a month in a church basement. Shared resources. Shared stories. Shared strength. Elena Coe led it with her. Together they helped dozens of women find lawyers. Find safety. Find freedom. 3 years after Marcus's arrest, Grace was working as a full nurse at a major hospital. Making enough to save money. To plan for Zoe's college. To dream about the future. She never remarried. Never dated much. Didn't need to. She was complete on her own. Zoe grew into a confident, strong, kind young woman who knew her worth. Who knew what real love looked like because her mother showed her every single day. Sometimes Grace thought about Marcus. About the life they could have had if he'd been honest. If he'd been real. But those thoughts got fewer and farther between. She didn't forgive him. Didn't need to. Forgiveness was for people who deserved it. Marcus didn't. But she forgave herself. For trusting. For believing. For staying as long as she did. She forgave herself and moved forward. One night 5 years after everything changed, Grace stood on her balcony looking at the city lights. Zoe was asleep inside. The apartment was quiet. Peaceful. Her phone rang. Unknown number. Grace almost didn't answer. But she did. Is this Grace? Yes. This is Maria. From the cleaning company. You probably don't remember me, but we worked together. Patricia's gone. Fired for discrimination. They're looking for a new supervisor. I remembered how you stood up to her. How you fought back. And I thought, would you want the job? Grace smiled. No. But thank you for thinking of me. I have a different path now. I understand. But Grace, thank you. Watching you fight gave me the courage to report her. You changed more than just your own life. After hanging up, Grace went back inside. Checked on Zoe one more time. Her daughter was sprawled across her bed, mouth open, drooling slightly. Beautiful. Safe. Free. Grace sat at her kitchen table and wrote in her journal. Something she'd started doing in therapy. Recording her journey. Her growth. Her truth. She wrote, they tell you the American dream is about success. About money and houses and cars. But that's not it. The American dream is about freedom. The freedom to choose your own path. To save yourself when no one else will. To build a life on your own terms. I came to this country with nothing but hope. I lost everything. My marriage. My trust. My innocence. But I gained something more valuable. I gained myself. I learned that strength isn't never breaking. It's choosing to heal. I learned that love isn't sacrifice. It's respect. I learned that I don't need anyone to save me. I can save myself. And that's what I did. I saved myself. I saved my daughter. And now I help other women save themselves. That's my American dream. Not the one they sold me. The one I built with my own hands. Grace closed the journal. Turned off the lights. Went to bed in her own home. In her own life. In her own future. She was 47 years old. A nurse. A mother. A citizen. A survivor. A fighter. A woman who refused to stay broken. And tomorrow she'd wake up and do it all again. Because that's what survivors do. They keep going. They keep fighting. They keep living. Not just surviving anymore. Living. Really living. And that made all the pain worth it.